Thank you, gentlemen.
The CBP One app has not been on the books since 1990. It's something that
the audience can't hear you because your mics are cut. We have so much we want to get to. Thank you for explaining the legal process. Nora?
Hot damn, you know things are getting heated when the moderators mute both mics. Though, to be fair, one was trying to fact-check bullshit, while the other was trying to bullshit. And I'll let you guess who's who for now, but I promise your gut reaction is 100% right. Now, Tim Walz is a nice guy, but at the debate tonight, I think it's safe to say he went balls to the walls on J.D. Prance.
Senator Vance, you still have 23 seconds there. Do you want to answer?
Can I have it?
Where, Governor, we will get to you in a moment. Governor, I do want to let you respond to the allegation that the vice president is letting in.
Well, of course, that's not true. And again, you have the facts. I guess we agreed not to fact check. I'll check it. That, look, crossings are down compared to when Donald Trump left office.
God damn. Okay. Obviously a lot to get to in this video, but the CBS vice presidential debate kicked off at prime time today, and I'll be damned if they didn't have the graphics to make it one hell of an affair. Jesus, are we watching the vice presidential debate here or the Super Bowl?
Fight for every single vote, and we're going to take this country back.
And we are ready to continue to build the future together.
We're going to turn this whole country red with President Donald J. Trump's leadership.
You know what's at the end of this little journey? Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States.
This is a CBS News special.
But while there was no halftime show performance from Taylor Swift or whoever the Republicans have on their side, I guess Kid Rock, we did get something even better. A debate between two fully grown adults, neither of which is cognitively impaired.
We're joined today by two beneficiaries of school choice here in Wisconsin, sisters, Michaela and Leah Lawrence. Where may you look at you? Look.
That deserves a call for celebration. So let's dive right into it with the opening question about foreign policy.
Earlier today, Iran launched its largest attack yet on Israel, but that attack failed, thanks to joint U.S. and Israeli defensive action. President Biden has deployed more than 40,000 U.S. military personnel and assets to that region, but the U.S. still considers it the largest state sponsor of terrorism in the world, and it has drastically reduced the time it would take to develop a nuclear weapon. It is down now to 1 or 2 weeks' time. Governor Walz, if you were the final voice in the Situation Room, would you support or oppose a preemptive strike by Israel on Iran? You have 2 minutes.
Holy shit. Talk about a preemptive strike. You couldn't have started with something a little more tame, like, I don't know, abortion? But okay, solving the Middle East it is for question number 1. Tim Walz answered first, and I emphasize the word answer there because, as we'll see, JD had a different idea of how to respond.
Well, thank you, and thank you for those joining at home tonight. Let's keep in mind where this started. October 7th, Hamas terrorists massacred over 1,400 Israelis and took prisoners. Israel's ability to be able to defend itself is absolutely fundamental. Getting its hostages back, fundamental, and ending the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. But what's fundamental here is that steady leadership is going to matter. It's clear, and the world saw that stage a few weeks ago, a nearly 80-year-old Trump talking about crowd sizes is not what we need in this moment. But it's not just that. It's those that were closest to Donald Trump that understand how dangerous he is when the world is this dangerous. His chief of staff, John Kelly, said that he was the most flawed human being he'd ever met. And both of his secretaries of defense and his national security advisors said he should be nowhere near the White House. Israel's ability to be able to defend itself is absolutely fundamental. Getting its hostages back, fundamental, and ending the humanitarian crisis in Gaza. But it's not just that. It's those that were closest to Donald Trump that understand how dangerous he is when the world is this dangerous. His chief of staff, John Kelly, said that he was the most flawed human being he'd ever met. And both of his secretaries of defense and his national security advisors said he should be nowhere near the White House. Now,
okay, great. Regardless of what your stance is on one of the most controversial topics in modern history, we can agree he answered, advocated for supporting our allies, particularly against terrorism, and then shifted to talking about why his opponents are ill-fit to carry out that goal. Let's see how JD fared.
Senator Vance, the same question. Would you support or oppose a preemptive strike by Israel on Iran? You have 2 minutes.
So, Margaret, I want to answer the question, first of all.
Okay. So answer it.
Now, to answer this particular question, we have to remember. Now, you asked about a preemptive strike, Margaret, and I want to answer the question. Look.
Yeah, apparently J.D. Vance thought that the question about foreign policy meant he should give a recounting of his hillbilly elegy autobiography because no one knows who the fuck he is, and other than his hatred of women with cats and no children, his policies are completely foreign to the American people.
I want to answer the question, but I want to actually give an introduction to myself a little bit because I recognize a lot of Americans don't know who either one of us are.
And while he did eventually answer the question, I think we'll start to understand why he got his mic cut off later in the broadcast, because his argument was essentially that no new conflict started under Donald Trump, which would be a major brag if it wasn't clearly because Trump was cozying up to dictators and foreign governments and essentially giving them what they want without any pushback whatsoever, so they would line his pockets.
Donald Trump actually delivered stability in the world, and he did it by establishing effective deterrence.
And Walz put that argument to bed pretty well.
Thank you, Senator. Governor Walz, do you care to respond to any of the allegations?
Well, look, Donald Trump was in office. We'll sometimes hear a revisionist history, but when Donald Trump was in office, it was Donald Trump who we had a coalition of nations that had boxed Iran's nuclear program in, the inability to advance it. Donald Trump pulled that program and put nothing else in its place. So Iran is closer to a nuclear weapon than they were before because of Donald Trump's fickle leadership. And when Iran shot down an American aircraft in international airspace, Donald Trump tweeted, because that's the standard diplomacy of Donald Trump. And when Iranian missiles did fall near U.S. troops and they received traumatic brain injuries, Donald Trump wrote it off as headaches.
Yeah, remember that clip of Trump slurring and unable to stand from earlier? Well, in that same speech from earlier today, he doubled down on that whole headache BS.
But also, do you believe that you should have been tougher on Iran after they had launched ballistic missiles in 2020 on U.S. forces in Iraq, leaving more than 100 U.S. soldiers injured?
So, first of all, injured. What does injured mean? Injured means you mean because they had a headache, because the bombs never hit the fort?
I mean, it's kind of impressive how even when he's not on the debate stage, he's still able to destroy his and his running mates' chances at taking office. But we do need to move on, and I hope you'll forgive me for boiling this next non-issue, just climate change, down to only one side's argument that actually believes in reality.
Now, look, coming back to the climate change issue, there's no doubt this thing roared onto the scene faster and stronger than anything we've seen. Senator Vance has said that there's a climate problem in the past. Donald Trump called it a hoax and then joked that these things would make more beachfront property to be able to invest in. What we've seen out of the Harris administration now, the Biden-Harris administration, is we've seen this investment. We've seen massive investments, the biggest in global history that we've seen in the Inflation Reduction Act, has created jobs all across the country. 2,000 in Jeffersonville, Ohio, taking the EV technology that we invented and making it here. But my farmers know climate change is real. They've seen 500-year droughts, 500-year floods back to back. But what they're doing is adapting, and this has allowed them to tell me, look, I harvest corn, I harvest soybean, and I harvest wind. We are producing more natural gas and more oil at any time than we ever have. We're also producing more clean energy. So the solution for us is to continue to move forward, that climate change is real. Reducing our impact is absolutely critical, but this is not a false choice. You can do that at the same time you're creating the jobs that we're seeing all across the country.
And for quick context, here's what I'll show of JD's response.
So if we actually care about getting cleaner air and cleaner water, the best thing to do is to double down and invest in American workers and the American people. And unfortunately, Kamala Harris has done exactly the opposite.
Governor Walz, you have 2 minutes to respond.
Well, we got close to an agreement because all those things are happening.
Nice. But now let's move on to the infuriating portions of the night, like when Vance got real mad about his lies about his own constituents getting fact-checked.
And the consequences in Springfield were the governor had to send state law enforcement to escort kindergartners to school. I believe Senator Vance wants to solve this, but by standing with Donald Trump and not working together to find a solution, it becomes a talking point. And when it becomes a talking point like this, we dehumanize and villainize other human beings.
And just to clarify for our viewers, Springfield, Ohio does have a large number of Haitian migrants who have legal status.
Right.
temporary protected status.
Well,
Nora?
but
Thank you. Senator, we have so much to get to.
Just for the sake of Republicans being all about the kids, though not in the way they allege Democrats are, even though Trump wants to date 10-year-olds, let's quickly recap J.D. Vance's solution to gun violence: door control.
But what do we do about the schools? What do we do to protect our kids? And I think the answer is, and I say this not loving the answer, because I don't want my kids to go to school in a school that feels unsafe or where there are visible signs of security. But I unfortunately think that we have to increase security in our schools. We have to make the doors lock better. We have to make the doors stronger. We've got to make the windows stronger. And of course, we've got to increase school resource officers, because the idea that we can magically wave a wand and take guns out of the hands of bad guys, it just doesn't fit with recent experience. So we've got to make our schools safer. And I think we've got to have some common sense bipartisan solutions for how to do that.
And while I don't agree with this rhetoric completely, I'll let Patches O'Houlihan handle my thoughts on that response.
It's like watching a bunch of trying to f*** a doorknob out there.
And the last thing we'll touch on tonight, because there is just far too much to go through, and I am but one man, is by far the best answer, in my opinion, of the night. And that is Tim Walz's absolute destruction of Trump and Vance in his full remarks on abortion.
Former President Trump said in the last debate that you believe abortion, quote, in the 9th month is absolutely fine. Yes or no? Is that what you support? I'll give you 2 minutes.
That's not what the bill says, but look, this issue is what's on everyone's mind. Donald Trump put this all into motion. He brags about how great it was that he put the judges in and overturned Roe versus Wade, 52 years of personal autonomy. And then he tells us, oh, we send it to the states. It's a beautiful thing. Amanda Zaworski would disagree with you on it's a beautiful thing. A young bride in Texas waiting for their child at 18 weeks. She has a complication, a tear in the membrane. She needs to go in. The medical care at that point needs to be decided by the doctor. And that would have been an abortion. But in Texas, that would have put them in legal jeopardy. She went home, got sepsis, nearly dies, and now she may have difficulty having children. Or in Kentucky, Hadley Duvall, a 12-year-old child raped and impregnated by her stepfather. Those are horrific. Now, when God asked about that, Senator Vance said 2 wrongs don't make a right. There is no right in this. So in Minnesota, what we did was restore Roe versus Wade. We made sure that we put women in charge of their health care. But look, this is not where, if you don't know Amanda or a Hadley, you soon will. Their Project 2025 is going to have a registry of pregnancies. It's going to make it more difficult, if not impossible, to get contraception and limit access, if not eliminate access to infertility treatments. For so many of you out there listening, me included, infertility treatments are why I have a child. That's nobody else's business, but those things are being proposed. And the catch-all on this is, well, the states will decide what's right for Texas might not be right for Washington. That's not how this works. This is basic human right. We have seen maternal mortality skyrocket in Texas, outpacing many other countries in the world. This is about health care. In Minnesota, we are ranked first in health care for a reason. We trust women, we trust doctors.
Senator, do you want to respond to the governor's claim?
Brilliantly said, and frankly, I don't give a f*** about J.D. Vance's woman-hating response. And we will have so much more coverage of this coming up, so please make sure that you like the video, subscribe to Really American, and turn on those notifications for more. Good night to everyone except for Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, and you know what? Any MAGA Republican. I'm Kenny Hesse, and I'll see you all in the next one.
Thank you, Nora.